In the small town of Santa Clara, a powerful transformation is underway. The wildflowers along the church road symbolize a rebirth, where solidarity and friendship bloom around every corner. Join us and discover how a simple gesture of compassion changed lives, brought the community together, and inspired a true miracle of overcoming. Stay with us and witness the extraordinary impact love can have on a small town. In the small town of Santa Clara, the road leading to the church was filled with wildflowers. It was a sunny day, and Father Arturo Cornejo walked slowly, reflecting on the homily he had prepared for Mass that Sunday. As he saw his parish in the distance, an unexpected event interrupted his thoughts. On the way, he found a woman sitting on the edge of the sidewalk, her eyes full of tears. Arturo, a man of faith, immediately approached. She introduced herself as Maria, a mother who had lost her job and didn't know how to feed her children. The priest's heart filled with compassion, leading him to sit beside her. The dialogue began, with Arturo listening attentively to his story. He realized that although he had his own religious mission, his true calling in life was to help those who were suffocating under the weight of pain. The encounter had become something unexpected and profound, stirring the priest's soul and rekindling his determination to serve others like never before. As Maria opened up about her struggles, Arturo noticed that the sadness in her eyes was a reflection of the loneliness many faced in the community. He, as a pastor, had the responsibility to ease the pain of his parishioners. The look of solidarity he fixed on Maria was filled with empathy and understanding. He recalled his grandmother's words, "In difficult times, sincere presence is the best medicine." Inspired by this memory, the priest stood up, as he knew he could not solve all the problems alone, but he could provide support. "Don't give up," said Arturo in a soft voice. "Let's find a solution together." The emotion of being heard and supported made Maria lift her head and see a light of hope. Arturo then decided that, even if his Mass was postponed, his charitable actions would commune with something greater. He would organize the distribution of food to needy families in the parish, knowing that this was the true meaning of serving God, caring for others. With a heart full of determination, Arturo sought not only to help Maria, but also others facing similar situations. He began to think about how many people were hiding behind the facade of their problems, feeling alone and without support. While walking through the city, the priest spoke to other residents, realizing that many were facing hidden challenges and that his role as a spiritual leader was even more crucial at this time. As he heard stories of pain and overcoming, Arturo felt increasingly committed to creating a welcoming space, where people could share their difficulties and seek help. He recognized that while the celebration of Mass was important, the act of uniting the community around the purpose of helping one another was even more vital. Feeling the gravity of the situation, an idea began to take shape in his mind: organize a large event at the church to collect donations and food, and thus awaken the spirit of solidarity among parishioners. He realized that this effort would not only help those in need, but also strengthen ties between the community. With a decision made, Arturo wasted no time. He knew he needed to act quickly. The priest called a meeting with parish leaders and several volunteers, sharing his vision for a community event aimed at helping those who were struggling. Excitement quickly took over the group, and together they devised a detailed plan. The event would be a big day of celebration in the church square, with music, food, and, most importantly, stands to collect donations. Arturo also thought about how to include messages of hope and emotional support for those who felt lost. As the day of the event approached, the whole city mobilized, and a wave of solidarity began to spread. Meanwhile, the news that Father Arturo was unable to celebrate Mass began to create expectations. Many wondered how the priest would react to this situation. Deep down, the community felt that something great was about to happen. The true essence of faith was about to manifest itself in a celebration of love, unity, and hope that would mean much more than any Mass. The city's alarm was resounding, and everyone was ready for what came next. As the event approached, a new wave of friendship and unity began to emerge in the small town of Santa Clara. Many residents who were once far apart, caught up in their daily routines, have begun to connect in unexpected ways. A striking example was the friendship that formed between Ana and Carlos, two young people who, although they had grown up on the same street, had never really spoken to each other. Ana, a talented artist, offered to create posters to promote the event, while Carlos, a musician, offered his skills to bring music to the event. Meetings to plan the event became a space where they could share laughs, their hopes and dreams. This new friendship inspired others to join, forming a network of support and collaboration. As the city came together, positive energy spread, bringing a new lease of life to Santa Clara. Arturo realized that solidarity generated bonds of friendship that had transformative power, a true miracle in the midst of a crisis. This bond between residents not only filled them with enthusiasm, but also helped ease the pain that many felt. The fact that they were together, fighting for a common purpose, made everyone feel less alone. Arturo knew that friendship was one of the greatest blessings anyone could have, and that was more than enough for him to believe that together they could create real change in the lives of those in need. The day of the event finally arrived, and the city was full of life and joy. From the early hours of the morning, the church square was decorated with colorful balloons and tables filled with delicious food. The children ran around happily, while the adults gathered to discuss the contributions they had brought. Father Arturo, like a true maestro, watched everything with a smile on his face. Touched by the way the community had come together, unforgettable moments emerged throughout the day. A group of elderly people began dancing to the sound of an accordion, while others shared stories and laughter. Carlos and Ana performed on an improvised stage, enchanting everyone with their skills, and many residents joined them, forming a large choir in the square. The love that filled the air was palpable. People exchanged hugs and words of encouragement. In the middle of all this, Maria appeared with her children, and the sight of them smiling and having fun was a balm for Arturo's heart. However, it wasn't just a celebration, it was a day to raise awareness about the difficulties many still faced. And at the end, when Arturo took the stage to address the crowd, he spoke about the strength of the community, recognizing each contribution, big or small. He emphasized that although the day was a celebration, it was also a call to continue to support and care for each other. Events like that, Arturo thought, could become a lasting legacy of unity and love in the city. After the event, something changed in Santa Clara, but not without challenges. As time passed, each resident's daily life returned to its usual rhythm, and not everyone continued to cultivate the newly formed bonds. Ana, for example, decided to follow her dream of studying art in a bigger city, while Carlos got involved with new musical projects. They promised to stay in touch, but life pushed them on different paths, a common reality when it comes to personal growth. However, in a moment of nostalgia, Ana and Carlos met on the internet and exchanged messages full of memories of the event. Longing radiated in their words, and they both realized that the moments they lived together were among the best of their lives. This exchange ended up becoming an impetus for them to not only maintain their friendship from a distance, but also create new initiatives in their respective cities, trying to inspire other people like Arturo had done in Santa Clara. As they realized their lives were going in different directions, they also learned about the importance of carrying the message of love and compassion no matter where they were. In the hearts of each one, the flame of solidarity continued to burn despite the physical distance. This would become a fundamental lesson for Arturo as he led his parish, showing that the seeds of generosity can blossom anywhere. Since that unforgettable Saturday, the motto of overcoming has become a mantra in the Santa Clara community. The event's impact not only responded to residents' immediate needs, but planted seeds of hope for the future. Father Arturo dedicated himself to strengthening the idea that joining forces could create a sustainable support network for those facing difficulties. He began to promote periodic meetings, where he would not only help with donations, but also encourage parishioners to share their stories of struggle and overcoming. With each meeting, the connection between residents became deeper, and together, they began to draw up plans to improve the quality of life in the city. Exchanges between community members became more frequent, creating true mutual support. This is how a community garden project came into being, allowing those with spacing and means to create a source of food, while sharing the responsibility and work. Arturo understood that faith and solidarity are powerful forces, and that, in difficult times, resilience is built in community. With more events planned and a renewed spirit of unity, the pastor and his parishioners were determined to transform not just the lives of a few, but the entire city. The motto of overcoming had become a collective commitment and a true strength that, united, showed that together they could face any challenge. During meetings at the parish, a moment of genuine connection began to form among the residents of Santa Clara. Father Arturo encouraged everyone to share their life stories, their struggles and triumphs. He believed that talking about what they were facing could help create a safe and welcoming space where everyone felt heard and supported. At the first meeting, a young woman named Laura, who until then had remained quiet, raised her voice. With a tremor in her words, she spoke about her battle with depression after losing a loved one. Their tears were a reflection of what many felt, but few had the courage to expose. Upon hearing Laura's narrative, others began to open up. An elderly man, Miguel, shared that he felt alone since his wife had passed away years ago, and this made him feel as if he was invisible in the eyes of the community. Each story shared was like a thread that united people, creating bonds of empathy. As time passed, the group learned to listen carefully, and the statements began to turn into promises of mutual support. Arturo knew that these stories were fundamental for emotional healing and collective growth, and thus, the parish became a refuge of hope. A message of encouragement, that everyone was part of the same path of overcoming, echoed among the participants, warming their hearts and strengthening the idea that together, they could rise up and help each other. However, not all residents kept the commitment they had made during the meetings. As the weeks went by, some promises began to be forgotten. Carlos, who had promised to collaborate with music at monthly meetings, found himself increasingly busy with his new band and ended up missing meetings. Anna, on the other hand, wanted to get more involved in the new community garden initiative, but lost contact with her friends and ended up getting carried away by the busy life of the big city. This lack of engagement generated a feeling of frustration in Father Arturo, who struggled to keep the flame of solidarity burning. He realized that, contrary to the state of unity that had taken place after the event, routine was dividing people again. One afternoon, Arturo decided to intervene and brought responsibility for the unity of the community to everyone who attended a meeting. He highlighted that everyone had a role to play and that only together could they face adversity. He shared his sadness at seeing some promises being broken, but also inspired everyone to remember why they joined the cause in the first place. At the end of the meeting, some people committed to resuming their roles and inspiring those who had left. It was an important reminder. The strength of the community did not just depend on a few voices, but on the actions of each of its members. Everyone needed to remember the impact they had on each other's lives. As the weeks passed, the weight of broken promises began to generate a feeling of guilt in some members, especially Laura, who had initially shared her story. Seeing others moving away made her feel responsible, as if she had contributed to an environment that was no longer supportive. Whispers of guilt began to echo inside her, making her wonder if the vulnerability she had shown was a mistake. She began to question whether her pain had been truly understood, whether her words had come to fruition, and whether the community truly intended to unite around love and solidarity. Laura decided she needed a talk with Father Arturo. She came to him after a meeting and, with teary eyes, expressed her insecurities. Arturo listened to her attentively, assuring her that her words had not been in vain. He helped her understand that sadness and guilt were natural reactions, but that true healing was a willingness to try again. Together, they devised a way to revitalize the community by developing a new event that not only celebrated the victories, but also addressed the difficulties that would always exist. It was time to recognize that failures and mistakes could be overcome, and the united community would need to learn to deal with these realities honestly and courageously. The idea of change was becoming palpable among the residents of Santa Clara, but the journey would not be easy. Father Arturo, with the support of Laura and others who still believed in the strength of unity, began to reformulate the parish meetings, intertwining the themes of the meetings with discussions dressed in hope and self-compassion. He realized that it took more than just promises, it took a genuine, ongoing desire for change. The meetings began to include activities where each person could express themselves through art, music and personal stories, addressing how they could face everyday difficulties. Inspired by the experiences of others, residents began to create a wall of hopes and expectations, where they could write what they wanted to change in their lives and in the community. This mural has become a symbol of resistance and rebirth. Seeing the words of their neighbors exposed, many felt motivated to act, and the desire for change was contagious. Laura, for example, found the strength in the mural to start a welcoming and psychological support project for people who were still struggling internally. The butterflies in her stomach when she opened up were overcome by the certainty that she wasn't alone. Arturo saw the transformation of the parish as an ongoing process, and that true change required effort, understanding, and above all, love. The journey for personal and community transformation had begun, and faith, love, and determination became the pillars of a better future for everyone in Santa Clara. With motivation at an all-time high and the need to help others more evident than ever, Laura decided the time was right to offer practical help to those struggling with emotional and social challenges. From her personal experience, she was able to identify several support points that could help those who were experiencing difficulties. With the encouragement of Father Arturo, Laura organized a monthly workshop in the parish, where mental health professionals could offer lectures and consultations. The idea was received with enthusiasm, and soon several volunteers were available to help. The space already prepared for these meetings was filled with positive energy, and, at each meeting, the desire to transform individual weaknesses into collective ones became a reality. The practice of offering help took place in support groups and active listening sessions, where residents could vent and share their stories without fear of judgment. Laura was excited to see the community begin to open up to self-care and learn to care for one another, with her own healing journey becoming a source of inspiration for many who were on the margins of pain and suffering. Acceptance and solidarity began to hover like a cloud of love over Santa Clara, signaling the beginning of a virtuous cycle of mutual support and personal transformation. However, not everything was easy during this new stage of community aid. Laura noticed that many people were still reluctant to accept help, and some barriers, both emotional and social, arose among the participants. Many of the people who needed support felt ashamed of what they were going through, unable to open up to vulnerability, and this situation became an obstacle to the progress of the initiative. During one of the meetings, this issue emerged when Clara, a shy resident, expressed her doubts about the group. The fear of being seen as weak or incapable prevented some from participating. Laura, upon hearing these concerns, decided it was time to address this taboo head-on. Together with Arturo, she created a series of activities that emphasized the strength that comes from vulnerability, showing that recognizing difficulties is the first step in seeking the necessary help. Words of encouragement and testimonies of overcoming were shared, and of course, the wall of expectations soon blossomed with messages of support, encouraging one another. Although the barriers were challenging, Laura and Arturo learned that perseverance in the face of difficulty built a stronger sense of community. The roots of solidarity began to deepen in the fertile land of Santa Clara. As the meetings progressed and the workshops became a regular part of the parish routine, the atmosphere of hope began to resonate throughout the community. Bonds were formed and the entire city began to feel the shift in energy. Each story shared and each support session brought to the surface a renewed sense of commitment among residents. Therefore, not even difficulties could extinguish the light that was beginning to shine. Laura, with Arturo's help, started a new program, the Walk of Hope, where once a month, residents would gather for a collective walk, connecting with nature and each other. During these walks, everyone was invited to express their feelings, hopes and dreams in a light and welcoming environment, where each step became a symbol of empowerment. The connection they created by walking together created a safe space to vent and reflect. At each end of the walk, everyone was invited to add a new word or phrase to the mural that was becoming a true poem of love and overcoming. The change occurred gradually, like a sprout that stands out from the ground, and Laura felt that there was finally something more beyond her weaknesses. There was a future. In the hearts of each resident, replanted hope turned the wheels of transformation, encouraging one another with renewed strength. Initially timid but now vibrant and full of life, the word had a significant impact on Santa Clara, and the power of communication proved to be a primary tool for healing and renewing the community. The space that Father Arturo and Laura created welcomed not only vulnerability, but also encouragement in the practice of expression. As the weeks progressed, open communication generated a very positive domino effect among residents. Simple interactions on the streets, in squares, and, above all, in the parish, became more frequent and warm. Once lonely homes opened up for communal dinners, where everyone contributed a dish and shared their stories. Laura encouraged this movement to continue using the Hope Wall as a place to record these interactions. It was there that residents left their stories about how life had changed since they started opening up. Words and empathy were transforming the place into a welcoming space. The power of words became even more present when children began to get involved and even create their own murals of hope, addressing themes that were even more hopeful and innocent. Now, every message written on the walls echoed not just the words of a single individual, but became a mantra for everyone. Together they rewrote the stories of their lives, ensuring that Santa Clara was not only a place of pain, but also of rebirth and unconditional love. With the climate of renewal in Santa Clara, many residents have begun to rediscover their dormant passions and talents. Inspired by the walks of hope and meetings in the parish, people like Miguel, the elderly widower, decided to share their skills. He has always been an excellent storyteller, and now, alongside Laura and Arturo, he has started organizing storytelling for children and adults in the community. These sessions would not only entertain, but also rediscover traditions and memories that many had forgotten. Maria, who had faced challenges after losing her job, decided it was time to return to cooking her family recipes, and began offering cooking workshops, where she not only taught, but also comforted community members with dishes that spoke about love and unity. Art also found its space, with Anna holding outdoor painting sessions, together with the children. With each brushstroke, people expressed their emotions, transforming traumas into vibrant colors and shapes. The church square became a hub of creativity where young people, adults, and seniors could come together to explore their passions, share, and learn. The act of rediscovering these passions not only brought freshness to their lives, but also further consolidated community ties, making people feel loved and valued for who they really were, instead of just for their difficulties. Handcrafted creations began to adorn the parish, while laughter and applause echoed, reinforcing a new sense of belonging and personal expression in Santa Clara. As individual passions blossomed, new opportunities began to emerge, driven by collaboration and a willingness to help each other. Father Arturo and Laura, realizing the potential of the community, decided to launch a monthly fair where residents could sell their productions, such as handicrafts, homemade food, and local art. Not only would this encourage people to get more involved, but it would also be a way to generate a source of income for those in need. Miguel began selling his stories and legends of the city printed in small booklets, while Maria offered her delicious delicacies, which attracted both young and old. Anna, in turn, organized art workshops, allowing others to create their own pieces that could be sold. The idea quickly gained traction, and the enthusiasm of the fair began to transform the church square into a true market of local culture and talent. The presence of the community at the fair brought an atmosphere of support and happiness, where everyone felt an integral part of the event. Furthermore, the collections allowed the parish to further help those in vulnerable situations. This collaborative structure not only offered financial opportunities, but also brought residents closer together, enabling them to pursue a better livelihood together. Whether it was in the workshops, in sales, or in the exchange of experiences, what was seen was a vibrant fabric of talents united, resulting in a future full of possibilities for everyone in Santa Clara, a true testimony to the strength of teamwork and solidarity. With the momentum of rediscovered passions and emerging opportunities, small victories began to land in the lives of many in Santa Clara. The fair's first event was a resounding success, with everyone contributing in some way, whether through selling products, helping with the organization, or simply offering moral support to each other. Miguel sold out his first edition of the booklet and received so much positive feedback that he began to dream of writing a larger book, bringing together stories that would preserve traditions. Maria, in turn, saw her delicacies being very popular and began planning a fixed menu. Dreaming of opening a small community canteen, each small achievement became a source of motivation and hope, not only for those who were directly involved, but for the entire community, showing that, even in difficult times, people could rise up and grow together. Laura realized that the number of participants in the workshops was only increasing, and many began to open up about their difficulties and emotions. This not only strengthened the welcoming network they were building, but also helped to alleviate the burden that many were carrying. Every smile on the faces of those who participated, every story told, and every dish shared conveyed the latent strength of that small community, proving that the victories, even if small, were great achievements for those who had suffered so much. These successes would lead to an ongoing cycle where solidarity and mutual support would become an integral part of Santa Clara's identity. Despite the victories, the reality in Santa Clara still reflected a series of persistent challenges. The lives of many residents, although improved in some aspects, still faced issues such as financial insecurity and the emotional remnants of past traumas. Laura and Father Arturo were aware that, while many felt more hopeful, not everyone was able to let go of the difficulties that still haunted them. One day, during one of the collective walks, some participants shared their frustration regarding the lack of stable jobs and the need for more elaborate psychological support. This led Laura to think that, despite all the activities and fairs, the support structure needed to be more robust and integrated. With Arturo's help, she began working on a partnership with local institutions that could provide career counseling services and ongoing psychological support. The aim was to broaden the scope of aid, ensuring that those in need of assistance were not left destitute. Meanwhile, on the parish wall, messages of support continued to echo, but they also began to display real concerns that still needed answers. The reality of people's lives in Santa Clara showed that the journey of overcoming was full of ups and downs, and that resilience would be necessary to face new challenges. However, with each meeting, each workshop, and each walk, the potential for change was becoming more and more present, and the community's commitment to facing its challenges, united, was the key to a brighter future. A sunny day brought upbeat vibes to Santa Clara, and the parish mural was more colorful than ever. During the meetings, Laura envisioned the possibility of a new event that would further inspire the community, a festival to celebrate life. In one of the workshops, she raised the proposal, and excitement quickly took hold. Residents saw the opportunity to showcase their gifts and talents, offering a space not only for sales, but also for artistic performances and presentations. Laura knew that, in addition to income, the festival could further promote community, unity, and strength by celebrating the advances made together. With the support of Father Arturo, a special invitation was prepared and distributed throughout the city, inviting everyone to join in organizing the event. Those who had artistic abilities were encouraged to showcase their talents, while those who wanted to help with the organization were welcomed with open hearts. The expectation was contagious, and soon everyone was mobilized, from creating posters to defining the program. The atmosphere of camaraderie became palpable, and the idea of sharing their victories, big and small, began to spark a renewed sense of purpose in Santa Clara. The festival would undoubtedly be a milestone in the parish's history, and many believed it was the perfect occasion to reaffirm the strength of unity in times of challenge. However, not everyone was so excited about the idea of the festival. As the date approached, some insecurities began to emerge, especially among the residents who would be protagonists in this event. Laura and Arturo noticed that, despite the enthusiasm expressed in the meetings, some still felt insecure and afraid to expose themselves. Clara, for example, who had shared her struggles in the past, revealed that after weeks of progress, she still struggled with shyness and fear of judgment. Others, like Miguel, expressed a similar concern, questioning whether their stories and talents would truly be valued and appreciated. The heart pounded with anxiety, especially for those who had never performed in public before. Laura was quick to realize that if they didn't address these fears, the opportunity to unite the community in celebration could be lost. In a special meeting, she organized a sharing circle, where everyone could express their insecurities about the festival. Arturo was also present, emphasizing that vulnerability is the essence of strength. By listening to each other's fears, residents began to encourage one another, creating an environment of understanding and support. Together, they decided that, instead of being overwhelmed by uncertainty, they would treat these feelings as challenges to be overcome collectively. Individuality became a new strength. They were ready to face any fear that might come their way. With renewed determination, Laura and Arturo quickly moved into the festival preparation phase, using the feelings expressed in their meetings to guide decisions. The strategy involved delegating responsibilities among the community, valuing collaboration at each step. Miguel was in charge of creating a section dedicated to storytelling, ensuring that each participant had a comfortable space to express themselves. Maria began organizing the culinary part of the event, planning to give samples of her delicious delicacies, ensuring that the taste of togetherness could also be experienced. The energy was contagious. The plans were augmented with art. Anna began to create an interactive mural where children and adults could leave their impressions and messages during the festival. However, in addition to logistics, Arturo recognized the importance of preparing residents emotionally for the event. With this in mind, he led meetings to build everyone's trust, reinforcing that every presentation and every sale would be a celebration of their individual and collective journeys. Hearts pulsed with anticipation, and soon, everyone was rehearsing and preparing for the big day. In that moment of unity and mutual support, insecurities began to give way to a collective feeling of anticipation and joy. That coalition of dreams and strengths finally began to materialize into something that would transcend individual fears. As the festival date approached, the community's unwavering support proved more vital than ever. In the days leading up to the event, Laura and Arturo realized that giving love and encouragement had become a common practice among residents. Clara, who was previously hesitant, gained courage through the words of support from her friends. Miguel started practicing his storytelling with the children, and everyone was excited to watch the rehearsal. The supportive atmosphere was buzzing. Laura noticed that each simple gesture, such as words of encouragement or turnarounds that occurred in small rehearsal groups, had a profound impact, making visible the transformation that was taking place in the community. In a symbolic act, they decided to hold a pre-festival day where everyone would gather in the square and simply enjoy each other's company. What was supposed to be a rehearsal ended up turning into a big get-together, where everyone felt valued and supported. Emotions were running high, and as Arturo led a collective prayer, many found themselves reflecting on how the journey so far had been full of challenges, but also one of unconditional love and solidarity. At that moment, everyone knew that no matter how the festival unfolded, what mattered most was the unity and strength they developed together. It was this bond that, even in the face of difficulties, brought them together in a welcoming and transformative embrace, establishing a precedent for what could be accomplished in the future. The day of the festival arrived with a vibrant energy that infected everyone in Santa Clara. The church square, once again, was transformed into a space for celebration and unity. With colorful balloons dancing in the wind and the unmistakable aroma of the delicacies that Maria always cooked, the atmosphere was full of expectation. Miguel, overcome by emotion, began to tell his stories, making everyone laugh and get emotional. Laura watched each moment, feeling the warmth of friendship take over. Carlos' music filled the air, and creative performances followed one another, generating a feeling of community that, until recently, seemed lost. This was a celebration of victory, not only for the festival, but for each individual who had faced challenges and, together, had risen. Claps resounded, and everyone's clamor for a more hopeful future was undeniable. That day, everyone became the protagonists of their own stories, and, most importantly, a collective chapter of overcoming began to be written. With the conclusion of the festival, changes began to be noticed in every corner of Santa Clara. The square, now full of life and creativity, had colorful and expressive new murals, symbolizing the rebirth of the community. Laura noticed that people were more open and willing to get involved. Monthly meetings were scheduled throughout the city, and the number of participants only increased. Miguel launched his first independent storybook, projecting a new light on his narratives, and Maria's workshop became a meeting place for people who wanted to learn not only to cook, but also to share experiences. This visibility bore fruit. Other businesses began to emerge, and sustainability ideas were eased. The bonds of friendship that formed began to translate into creative collaborations and community outings. The change was visible in the brighter looks, the echoing laughter, and the solidarity that had become Santa Clara's hallmark, of vibrant testimony of faith and love in action. After the festivities, a wave of reflection took over Santa Clara. As residents gathered, moments of contemplation became common. Arturo, realizing the profound impact the festival had on the community, led a circle so everyone could share their experiences and learnings. Laura stimulated this intimate environment, encouraging everyone to talk about their personal journeys and remember the challenges faced, as well as the victories achieved. What began as a celebration meeting turned into a healing space, in which people were willing to ask for forgiveness for their guilt and forgive themselves for their past weaknesses. The stories intertwined, forming a tapestry rich in learning, and everyone realized that difficulties do not define them. In the end, with teary eyes and lighter hearts, the community decided that the journey of overcoming should be celebrated not only in events, but through the continuous practice of love and mutual care, reaffirming the importance of active listening and acceptance. In the wake of celebrations and reflections, the impact of friendship became a vital force in the transformation of Santa Clara. It was admirable to observe how the bonds of friendship that were strengthened also served as support in the face of the remaining difficulty. Laura saw that Clara had become a reference in the group, guiding others to overcome their insecurities, witnessing her own journey of growth. Miguel, on the other hand, befriended countless young people through his storytelling, realizing that his passion had a deep echo, motivating new tellers to take risks. Every gesture, every word of support exchanged, and every smile received turned into roots that held the community through the challenges. The festival, like the entire journey, was a portrait of the transformative power of friendship, showing that true strength was not only in facing difficulties, but in walking side by side, between laughter and confidences. Everyone embraced the idea that together they were stronger than any adversity could imagine, and daily interactions continued to reinforce this valuable lesson, beating Santa Clara's heart stronger than ever. After the festival, the role of friends in Santa Clara began to be strengthened and redefined. Residents began to realize that friendship was not just a refuge in times of difficulty, but a powerful tool for transforming the community. Laura, as one of the central figures in the recovery process, dedicated herself to cultivating these bonds. She organized regular gatherings, where people were encouraged to share their experiences of recovery and the importance that friendships played in their lives. These meetings became a safe space where everyone could express their vulnerabilities. Miguel also stood out as a supportive friend, supporting the young people who acted as an audience in his storytelling and motivating them to use their voices. He was aware that by connecting with them, he was helping them develop their confidence. Thus, the new role of friends was one of mentoring and mutual support, where everyone felt free to seek help and reciprocally offer a helping hand when necessary. The idea that no one was alone in daily battles solidified, creating a new standard of solidarity in Santa Clara, based on the idea that true friendship is a two-way street, a true act of emotional positioning and playful support, reflecting the strength of collectivism. This inspired everyone to become more engaged friends, ready to lift each other up and inspire each other through love and unity, shaping a brighter future for the community. The change that spread throughout Santa Clara began to transform lives in unexpected ways. The stories of overcoming and solidarity cultivated at the festival generated a ripple effect, influencing the way each resident led their lives. Clara, who had previously been hesitant to expose herself, now led meetings with supportive groups, especially helping new members who were struggling with their insecurities. Miguel, upon noticing the impact of his narratives on children, was motivated to take his storytelling to schools in the neighboring city, planting seeds of hope in younger hearts. The friendships created between residents allowed everyone to become more vulnerable, and so, together, they became agents of change. This new dynamic allowed solidarity to reach those who, until then, felt invisible. A group of young people, inspired by Laura, began organizing food and clothing collection sessions for homeless people in critical areas of the city. Each trip to deliver donations turned into a unity movement, where people of all ages came together to impact the lives of others. Thus, the change in Santa Clara was not limited to the stories of those who worked within the parish, but inspired actions aimed at the outside. Each one, in their own way, began to suffer and care about the lives around them. This new spirit of change and solidarity transformed not only the community but also individuals, reflecting their hopes and dreams into concrete actions to help others less fortunate. With the emergence of the new solidarity mentality in Santa Clara, local initiatives began to take shape and tone, leading to a positive impact on the analysis of the relationship between residents and their needs. Laura and Arturo, realizing the contagious strength of the community's commitment, decided to expand the scope of existing projects. The workshop program, which already addressed emotional issues, received a new twist. More frequently, experts from different areas began to be invited to speak about human rights, mental health, as well as sustainable living practices. Gardening, which had begun with community gardens, expanded to the creation of a local market, where cultivated products were sold and helped to boost the economy. Maria, with her gift for cooking, became a leader in this project, teaching about the importance of healthy and accessible food, which was part of the residents' daily lives. A new synchrony was born between the initiatives, where one action inspired another. The Wall of Hope, previously a simple collection of messages, became a dynamic space, being used to promote the various actions that were emerging, creating a support network. Santa Clara's greatest achievements were sustained by growing collective collaboration, where the struggle of one reflected the struggle of many. This new force of solidarity initiatives cultivated a climate of love and empathy, leading to a legacy of unity that would be passed down from generation to generation, ensuring that the city thrived in spirit and community. As Santa Clara became an example of how unity and friendship could transform lives, reflection on the legacy they were building in the parish became a central conversation among its inhabitants. Father Arturo, in one of his sermons, addressed the question of what it means to leave a legacy, emphasizing that it was not just about what was left for the next generations, but also about the impact of each daily action. Residents began to realize that small changes they made in their lives, and implemented together, culminated in a collective legacy rich in love and meaning. Laura, seeing the impact of her work on the lives of citizens, encouraged everyone to think about what they wanted future generations to remember about that period in Santa Clara. Conversations began to echo throughout the city, bringing to light stories of tradition, overcoming, and mutual support. The idea of the mural was not just meant to be a symbol, but it became a living record of the legacy being formed. Each new story added there was not just words, but parts of a foundation that would sustain the city's character for years to come. And so, as they reflected on her legacy, residents came together even more, pledging to work not just for themselves, but for a future where compassion continues to shine and where the spirit of St. Clare is remembered as a beacon of love and wisdom for people to come. This commitment was an invitation to everyone to join this beautiful journey, ensuring that love and solidarity became not just a momentary experience, but a way of living. Father Arturo, immersed in his mission, believed that every small gesture of kindness and solidarity contributed to a better world. He dedicated his mornings to serving those who sought solace in the parish, but he also did not neglect the hard work of fostering unity among members of the community. The connection he had with the city of Santa Clara was profound, as every story and every tear shared became part of his own journey. When visiting the community garden, Arturo observed how each resident cultivated not only plants, but also relationships of affection and mutual support, which rooted the bonds of the community. In his homily, the priest always spoke about the importance of supporting each other through the ups and downs of life, translating this message into concrete actions. He knew that, to truly fulfill his mission, he needed to instill in his parishioners the understanding that, by serving others, they were serving God and the very essence of love. Love could transform lives, provide support and give hope to everyone, even those who felt lost. Arturo's mission, reinforced by his reflections and actions, became the nucleus of the renewal of Santa Clara, where faith and friendship were inextricably intertwined. The community's support for Father Arturo grew every day, and he felt like part of an extended family. During prayer times, residents expressed their gratitude and recognition to the priest for all the work he had done. They began to get involved in parish activities with enthusiasm, bringing innovative ideas and actively collaborating on various projects. The atmosphere of collaboration was evident, and empathy and solidarity flourished between them. The meetings became a space for exchange, where each member of the community had a voice and could express their hopes and desires. Together, they organized food drives, joint efforts to improve the parish's infrastructure, and significant social activities. This interaction not only created a sense of belonging, but also strengthened interpersonal relationships. Every collaboration, every smile, and every word of encouragement became the basis of a renaissance in Santa Clara. Support for Father Arturo's mission became increasingly evident, and residents saw that they were building something bigger than themselves. It was a joint effort, a legacy of love and solidarity that would echo beyond their lives, creating an environment where everyone felt valued and respected, evidenced in each action taken together. Testimonies of gratitude began to appear everywhere, reflecting the profound impact of the community's actions and Father Arturo's leadership. In one of the meetings, residents were invited to share their stories of transformation and gratitude. Miguel, with his booming, thin voice, told how storytelling not only brought joy to the children, but also light to his own heart. Maria, moved, reported how opening her canteen brought a new purpose to her life, serving not just food, but love in every dish she prepared. Residents began filling the Hope Wall with messages of gratitude and love, each a small celebration of what had been achieved. The tears of happiness and smiles were testimony to the power of solidarity and affection built. These reports were not just testimonies, but a deep commitment to the mission of acting for the common good, reinforcing the strength of mutual support. In Santa Clara, life stories intertwined, weaving a vibrant tapestry of hope and overcoming that established that true wealth lay in the unity of the community. The desire to help others took deep root, and each person became more aware of the impact they could make, generating a contagious enthusiasm that echoed within each heart. Connecting with the faithful has become an even more important aspect of Father Arturo's journey. Together with Laura, he organized themed meetings, where each member of the community could share their faith experiences and the relationship they had with God and each other. These meetings promoted a true strengthening of bonds, and the stories became sources of inspiration, bringing to light moments of spirituality experienced by each individual. Trust solidified, and an openness allowed new believers to feel comfortable integrating and sharing their struggles and challenges. Arturo, attentive to the spiritual needs of each person, adapted his preaching, making the message resonate deeply with the reality of each resident. By encouraging the practice of love and empathy in all spheres, not just in the church, but also in their daily lives, he planted the seeds of a vibrant and engaging faith. The parish became a true hub of spiritual connection, where people came together in prayer and in search of meaningful moments of unity. Thus together, these experiences formed a network of emotional and spiritual support that became the beating heart of the city, showing that faith was not just an aspect of life, but what truly united all the residents of Santa Clara. With the parish pulsating with harmony and hope, Father Arturo felt it was time to take a new step in his mission. The connection between Santa Clara residents had strengthened dramatically, and he realized that the community was ready to embark on a new journey. The idea of creating more structured support groups began to take shape in the priest's mind. He decided that these groups would not only be about addressing emotional issues, but also about promoting personal and spiritual growth. Arturo then proposed the creation of new committees focused on different themes, such as mental health, professional development, and artistic initiatives. This initiative was enthusiastically received, and residents felt confident in participating and leading. The first meeting of the mental health group brought together several people who were willing to share their stories and experiences, creating spaces of mutual support where everyone felt heard and welcomed. Gradually, the shared experiences enriched everyone's journey, allowing them to feel more empowered in their personal and collective struggles. With each step they took together, the parish became a true beacon of light, lighting the way for a new era of collaboration and overcoming in Santa Clara. The spirit of collaboration was manifested in many ways, showing that love and solidarity go beyond words. With meetings becoming more and more frequent, the ideas and talents of each resident began to intertwine into a collective affection. Laura, encouraged by the community's enthusiasm, suggested that workgroups organize interactive events to bring together diverse interests in the same space. These events were full of practical workshops where everyone could teach and learn, sharing their knowledge and skills. A group of young people, inspired by stories of overcoming, started working on a gardening project where everyone was invited to grow flowers and herbs to decorate the church square. This activity not only brought visual beauty, but also involved people who were previously more reserved. The meetings became true celebrations, where Carlos's music echoed and laughter covered hearts. Collaboration is no longer an obligation and has become a form of expression of friendship, uniting the community even more. Together, they realized that strength lay in joint action, and this understanding made Santa Clara solidify itself as a true home of hope and transformation. The moments of sharing became one of the biggest milestones in Santa Clara's journey. At each meeting, the walls of the parish became witnesses to moving stories of life and faith. The meetings turned into listening circles, where each resident had the opportunity to sit in the center and share their struggles, triumphs, thoughts, and feelings. Laura remembered an expression she had heard: shared pain becomes lighter, and shared joy becomes more intense. This philosophy dominated the environment, and residents began to support each other not only in difficulties, but also in small and large achievements in life. The testimonies ranged from overcoming losses and emotional challenges to celebrating new opportunities and dreams come true. Each narrative echoed like a thread that united the community, weaving a cloak of resilience around everyone. Mother Arturo led these moments with special sensitivity, promoting reflection and gratitude, allowing the parish to become a true sanctuary of sharing. As they saw their collective strength grow, Many realized that they were not alone in their struggles and that the mission to care for one another was at the heart of what it truly meant to be together in Santa Clara. The importance of unity became increasingly evident as St. Clara's journey progressed. Father Arturo often reminded residents that, in difficult times, the strength of the collective could overcome any challenge. At each meeting, he emphasized that unity provided the energy and courage needed to face life's adversities. At one of the meetings, residents openly discussed the challenges the city still faced, such as the lack of employment opportunities and mental health issues. Together, they decided that they must act collectively to address these problems. The idea of a community forum to discuss solutions was launched, and, within days, everyone was engaged in organizing the event. With everyone's active participation, the forum became a space for open and constructive dialogue, where each voice was valued and each idea considered. Individual problems began to be seen as collective challenges, and this strengthened ties between everyone. The union made everyone feel stronger and more empowered to create change. The forum's results were a powerful reflection of their ability to come together to redefine Santa Clara's future. The popularization of social networks has brought a new dimension to community life in Santa Clara. The spirit of unity and solidarity that radiated from the parish began to extend to the digital world. Residents realized they could use these platforms to share their stories, inspire others, and promote community initiatives such as gardens, fairs, and support gatherings. Groups were created on WhatsApp and Facebook, allowing information to circulate quickly, and each new post became an opportunity for engagement. Miguel, for example, began sharing accounts of his storytelling on a YouTube channel, attracting the attention of people outside the city and sparking interest in local culture. Thus, the power of social networks has become a powerful tool for strengthening ties, with each online interaction contributing to the strengthening of collective identity. At the same time, they realized that the virtual world could be a safe space to discuss problems and seek solutions, solidifying their commitment to the positive transformation that was already underway in the community. With the increased use of social media, Father Arturo saw an opportunity to take the message of hope and faith beyond the walls of the parish. With this in mind, he organized an online evangelization team, made up of young people from the community like Anna and Carlos, who understood well the dynamics of digital platforms. They began to produce content that involved live lectures, reflections, and biblical studies, attracting the attention of a wider audience, including people who, for various reasons, were unable to attend services. The team also encouraged parish members to share their life witnesses, promoting a spirit of encouragement and welcoming. The result was a remarkable increase in participation from both local faithful and people from other areas who found relief and inspiration in Arturo's words. Thus, online evangelization not only connected the community, but also expanded Santa Clara's spiritual horizons, ensuring that the faith remained alive and vibrant, even in the digital environment. Education through technology has become a fundamental pillar in the transformation of Santa Clara, especially after the insertion of this new digital dynamic. Laura, realizing that many residents could have their knowledge expanded, created a series of virtual workshops. These online meetings would be aimed at empowering community members, teaching skills such as digital entrepreneurship, creativity in selling products, and even social media management. The idea was received with enthusiasm, and teachers and experts soon became available to share their knowledge. The classes, broadcast live, reached not only residents, but also people from neighboring cities, increasing the impact of the initiatives. The classes were not limited to technical aspects, but also addressed the importance of self-care and mental health, using the platform to openly discuss the difficulties that residents faced. This culminated in an innovative space for learning and exchange, where everyone could be empowered, allowing education to become accessible to everyone, regardless of their circumstances. Despite the many achievements that came with digitalization, the Santa Clara community also faced challenges from the digital world that needed to be discussed and addressed. Father Arturo and Laura realized that while technology brought many benefits, there was also a dark side. The lack of digital skills among some residents created a feeling of exclusion and uncertainty, and the nasty comments circulating on social media were truly worrying. Furthermore, the extreme amount of misinformation exacerbated the anxieties and fears that many people already faced in real life. With this in mind, Arturo hosted a series of discussions about digital ethics and online safety, where residents could express their concerns and learn about responsible media use. The conversations emphasized the importance of maintaining a critical mind when faced with the information we consume, ensuring that the community becomes more resilient in the face of the challenges that the digital world presents. In the end, the discussions not only raised awareness, but also created a safe space, where everyone could explore the emotions and uncertainties that have arisen in the face of the new digital era. The spiritual meetings organized by Father Arturo attracted more and more residents, becoming moments of deep emotional connection. In each of these meetings, the priest highlighted the importance of nurturing spirituality, bringing a message that resonated with the hearts of each participant. It was a space where everyone could open up and share their experiences of faith, expressing fears, doubts, and also victories. Laura, who stood out as a facilitator, encouraged those present to talk about their personal experiences, creating a welcoming environment where vulnerability was legitimized and celebrated. Exchanging stories became a powerful resource for mutual support, and many left these meetings feeling more empowered and connected to their purpose. In these meetings, love and faith were intertwined, reaffirming that spirituality was not restricted to the temple, but rather pulsed strongly in everyday relationships. Residents experienced a transformation in the way they saw life and interactions, understanding that the connection with God also came about through the connection with others. The parish thus became a true spiritual home, where each person felt welcomed and loved, creating a legacy of faith that would echo for generations to come in Santa Clara. As the spirituality meetings gained strength, the residents' desire to deepen their faith became evident. At the heart of this quest was the desire to truly understand the teachings of Jesus and how they applied to everyday lives. Father Arturo, always attentive to this demand, began to structure a series of biblical studies that explored relevant passages, contextualizing them with the experiences of the participants. During these sessions, residents not only read scripture, but were encouraged to discuss their interpretations and how they related to the challenges they were experiencing. Open dialogue fostered a rich exchange of ideas and perspectives, allowing everyone to feel like they were part of something bigger than themselves. Laura organized affinity study groups, where questions and debates could flow in a more personal and intimate way, and the diversity of experiences added a layer of depth to the discussions. This more interactive approach not only helped enrich the understanding of the scriptures, but also strengthened the bond between residents. The lessons learned resurfaced in their daily interactions, transforming small acts into reflections of their faith. It was a spiritual flowering that awakened consciousness and generated a genuine commitment to life in community, where each person became a bearer of the message of love and hope around them. With participation growing and renewed euphoria, preparing for Mass became an experience that engaged the entire community. Father Arturo decided that this preparation would not just be a rite, but an opportunity for the residents to feel the importance of each element of the cult. He initiated a series of pre-Mass meetings where everyone could contribute ideas and get involved in the preparations. From choosing the songs to play to discussing the themes of the homilies to be covered, Maria was in charge of coordinating the culinary aspect, organizing a community lunch after Mass, where everyone was invited to bring dishes that represented their cultural heritage. This involvement created a feeling of belonging where every member of the parish, from young to old, felt an integral part of the celebration. The day of Mass became an event in which everyone prepared with care, and the temple had a festive air, decorated with flowers and crafts made by the children. Unity in preparation resulted in an exuberant service, where the high energy in the parish reflected the joy and expectations of the residents. Celebrating together the strength of their community, Mass was no longer just an individual act of faith, but a collective celebration, a space where the lives and stories of each person intertwined in a hymn of gratitude and love for others. The personal growth observed at Santa Clara became a powerful testimony to the impact of the activities led by Father Arturo and Laura. With each activity, each speech, and each story shared, the residents began to rediscover their potential and capabilities. Virtual workshops and listening circles have provided a safe space for people to explore their talents and aspirations. Anna, who previously saw herself solely as an artist, began to understand that her ability to inspire others was rooted in her own vulnerability and experiences. By taking the lead in artistic projects, She boosted creative expression among the city's youth and adults. Miguel, in turn, as he told his stories, saw his confidence and charisma grow, and he began to be recognized as a storyteller not only in Santa Clara but also in neighboring cities. This domino effect of personal growth was palpable. Friendships deepened, and residents became more hopeful about the future, with many embarking on new courses and even changing careers to pursue their passions. Moments of mutual support and encouragement among residents were manifested in solidarity actions that solidified the social fabric of the community. Santa Clara became not only a place of overcoming, but a beacon of personal growth and transformation, where each step taken individually was intertwined in the collective path towards love and empathy, forming a foundation for a prosperous future. Special memories began to blossom in the lives of Santa Clara residents, playing a fundamental role in building a renewed sense of belonging. On a sunny Saturday, Laura called a meeting in the park, where everyone could share significant stories that shaped their lives or their trajectory. The event, titled Memories That Unite Us, provided a welcoming space where laughter and tears mixed. Miguel was one of the first to speak, sharing a memory of his grandmother who always encouraged him to tell stories. He spoke with emotion about the afternoons when she took him to listen to the village elders narrate their life experiences, highlighting how these memories were engraved in his heart and how they guide him to this day. Each story that emerged not only celebrated the past, but reinforced the idea that by telling our stories, we not only honor our origins, but also create a collective legacy that strengthens community bonds. The shared moments, filled with laughter and reflections, turned into a celebration of each person's journey, exalting the beauty and complexity of the stories that make up the rich tapestry of life in Santa Clara. Support in difficulties emerged as a recurring theme in conversations and meetings in Santa Clara. During one of these gatherings following the Memories That Unite Us event, many began to open up about the challenging times they had faced and how community solidarity had made a difference in their lives. Clara, one of the shyest participants, had the courage to share her experience after the loss of a loved one. She explained how helpless she felt at first, but highlighted that attentive listening and caring from her neighbors helped her navigate the pain. Hearing her story, others began to recognize the importance of being there for each other, especially in times of need. The chorus of encouragement and empathy that took place there became a powerful demonstration of how unity was capable of healing the deepest wounds. Each message of support reinforced the emotional connection and served as a reminder that, even in difficulties, true strength was in the presence of friends, reinforcing the idea that in Santa Clara, no one would need to face their struggles alone. Recognizing the trajectory of each resident has become an important element in strengthening community ties. During a meeting aimed at celebrating achievements, the atmosphere was festive. Father Arturo led the session with a heartbeat of joy, inviting people to share their victories, even small ones. Maria, who had opened her community canteen, was the first to speak and expressed her gratitude for the help she received. She reported the positive impact that her initiative had on the lives of other mothers who, like her, were facing difficulties. Soon, other residents stood up to recognize Miguel's efforts for the stories he told and Arnes for the artistic projects that engaged the community. With each word of encouragement, the energy intensified, and the Wall of Hopes, which became a space for celebration, gained new messages of gratitude. Recognizing each other's journeys solidified a sense of belonging and appreciation, creating an environment where everyone could flourish. That night became a powerful testimony to St. Claire's commitment to her own identity and the generous love she reflected in each individual. Strengthening bonds of friendship, the residents of Santa Clara began to implement small initiatives that fostered interaction and coexistence. The idea of Friendship Days, proposed by Laura, consisted of themed meetings where residents could bring typical dishes from their cultures, promoting culinary diversity and helping to create a welcoming and festive environment. During one of these meetings, Anna and Carlos, who had become closer through their artistic passions, decided to present a play that addressed the importance of friendship and mutual support, which enchanted everyone present and caused laughter and tears to mix. The performance generated dialogues about the lived experiences and friendships between residents, showing how each one played a vital role in the other's journey. The strength of the bonds of friendship was reaffirmed when, after the presentation, several people gathered around a special mural, where they would leave their messages of gratitude and more intimate recognition. In these friendship meetings, The community not only helped each other, but, more importantly, celebrated each other, creating a support network that radiated love and strength, a solid foundation that transformed Santa Clara into a true home for everyone. Subchapter 1: Success Stories. The energy of Friendship Days began to generate a domino effect that reverberated throughout the city of Santa Clara. During one of these meetings, the success stories of several residents began to be shared, providing a sense of belonging and inspiration. An emotional McGill spoke about how his narratives were initially received as a simple pastime, but have now become an important voice in the community. He related how a student from the storytelling project had recently reached out to him, a young man who had found the courage to tell the story of his life, inspiring others to do the same. There was not only a personal impact, but also the transformation of lives around him. Maria, in turn, expressed how the community canteen had evolved with community support and the search for healthier dishes, and shared the gratification of noting that she was helping to rehabilitate the self-esteem of mothers who, like her, struggled to nourish their families. These stories were not just accounts of individual achievements, but highlighted the social interconnectedness that emerged from communication and solidarity in the parish, showcasing the strength of the community throughout each resident's journey. At the end of that meeting, as voices joined in warm applause, everyone realized that each small step of success was, in fact, paving a path of hope, resilience, and growth for everyone in Santa Clara. Subchapter 2: Celebrating Conquests. As success stories began to multiply, the need to celebrate these achievements became evident. Laura and Father Arturo planned a special event dedicated to the community's accomplishments. Backstage at the parish was filled with creativity, as all residents were invited to contribute their ideas for the big day. The proposal was simple: a recognition party where everyone could come and share not only their victories, but also the obstacles overcome along the way. There was a sense of excitement in the air, and everyone began preparing their stories and presentations. On the day of the event, the church square was filled, and laughter rang out as children ran among the adults. Each account shared was a vibrant testament to the human capacity to adapt, endure, and thrive. When Maria presented a panel with photos and testimonies of her achievements, everyone felt the energy of unity and collective strength. This kind of recognition encouraged others to speak out. Miguel gave a special presentation, interspersing his narratives with songs that evoked memories and reflections. The feeling of community was reinforced at the celebration, showing that each achievement, regardless of its size, was linked to a support network that extended beyond the individual. At the end of the day, residents were invited to sign a wall of achievements, where each signature symbolized not only personal recognition, but a collective commitment to continue supporting each other in the challenges and victories to come. Subchapter 3: The Joy of Sharing. The parties celebrating the achievements had been a watershed for Santa Clara, and the joy of sharing spread like the refreshing breeze that swept the flowers in the park. Residents began visiting each other more frequently, drawn by a genuine desire to connect and share stories. This exchange became the foundation of a new cycle of union and love. On the square, conversations became more frequent, and new bonds began to form between those who previously barely knew each other. The young people, inspired by Miguel and Aina's energy, started to prepare meetings where they could practice and share their skills, creating fun and engaging moments. This created a space where everyone could experience the joy of teaching and learning, often amid dancing and laughter. The bonds of friendship became stronger and stronger, and when someone went through difficulties, they were quickly surrounded by others who were ready to offer support. It was impressive how this joy infected everyone around. Those smiles were not only reflections of happy moments, but also a reminder that life is made of sharing, of doubts, laughter, and even challenges. When looking at each other, each resident felt that their stories were intertwined in the same book, where each one played a fundamental role in making Santa Clara a more welcoming and loving place. Subchapter 4: Preparing the Future. The spirit of unity that was formed with the success of the events and the stories shared encouraged everyone to think beyond, projecting themselves towards an increasingly collaborative future. The community was ready for a new cycle of growth, not only in social associations, but also planning how they could evolve together in their various initiatives. Father Arturo entered into discussions with the parish about creating a community council, which could represent the city's diverse voices and ensure that needs continued to be heard. Laura, excited about the idea, started organizing open sessions where everyone could bring their contributions about what could be done to improve life in the city. This discourse tree aimed for a collective future where everyone had space to express themselves and where empathy and listening would continue to shape the positive environment. The mural of hopes, now a symbol of the past that everyone carried, began to adopt new messages, the message of community and progress. Turning the page forward, the city understood its potential and, more importantly, the strength it had found in the collective selection and construction of its purposes. Hopes were latent in each resident as they prepared to plant new seeds, nurture and cultivate a future that reflected everything they learned together, making Santa Clara a home of love and solidarity. Father Arturo, sitting in his office, looked out the window and took in the view of the vibrant community of Santa Clara. He knew that the educational and emotional transformation journey that the city has undertaken so far could not stop. With the idea of a community council in the works, he began projecting a vision beyond the horizon. A future where every voice counts, every story is respected, and every need is met. Arturo imagined himself talking to young people and adults, soliciting their ideas on how to shape the city into a thriving, welcoming community. By touching on aspects of sustainability, inclusion, and opportunities, he decided that the horizon was more than a simple line. It was a vast field of possibilities, where each resident could be an agent of change. With this new vision in mind, Arturo began drafting an action plan, inviting the entire community to participate in building a future together. He envisioned an annual festival dedicated to innovation and creativity, where people could present their ideas and projects to improve life in Santa Clara. This idea began to take shape in his mind, and he knew that when they came together, they would explore not only their dreams, but the strength that existed in each of them. The true essence of the future resonated in the union of their efforts and the ability to dream collectively, with the prospect of a prosperous future in mind. Laura began regular meetings with different groups in the community in order to capture everyone's aspirations and concerns. She believed that the ideal conversations to shape tomorrow must happen through the interaction between different voices. The meetings started with a small number of participants, but soon grew as more residents became interested in sharing their ideas. Laura was attentive to the feeling of excitement that filled the air, realizing that there was a thirst for change and innovation during these discussions. Ideas about mental health initiatives, job training programs, and educational opportunities were presented. Everyone shared their experiences, and solutions began to intertwine so that an integrated system could emerge. The possibility of creating a community space, where the parish could transform into a center of learning and support, took shape. Laura envisioned a place where not only hobbies could be taught, but also fundamental life skills like personal finance and the responsible use of technology. When discussing the formation of partnerships with local schools and experts, they began to realize that joining forces would amplify the ability to transform not only the present, but also ensure a safer future for everyone. Tomorrow was shaping up with bright colors, full of promises and opportunities. With the renewed energy in the parish and the collective desire for action in Santa Clara, a new spirit of service began to emerge. The conversations intensified and, in one of the meetings, they discovered a growing need to organize not only events that celebrated victories, but also to offer support to those facing difficulties. Miguel, moved by this reflection, proposed a group of volunteers who would commit to visiting hospitals and nursing homes, bringing human warmth to those who often felt lonely. The idea gave rise to a contagious movement. Soon, several mothers offered to bring homemade food, while young people made themselves available to perform musical performances and tell stories. Laura and Arturo were involved in the visits, carrying the message that empathy was embodied in action. Thus, the parish began to organize itself into solidarity fronts that maintained continuous support for these individuals, not only during visits, but through a continuous support network. Everyone came together, realizing that the service was something more than a one-off action. It was cultivating love in their lives, a strong bond that meant being present and active in the lives of others. The experiences and moving stories that emerged in the conversations brought a renewed sense of purpose, highlighting that each small act of kindness was a step towards a more just and welcoming world for everyone. As community initiatives gained momentum and success stories spread, Santa Clara's journey seemed to never end. Father Arturo and Laura were aware that each step related to the changes was not just a victory, but the beginning of a journey full of learning and growth. The community was not only transformed by facing challenges together, but also united around the common purpose that blossomed in their hearts. Preparation for the future was already underway. Between different groups, events began to be organized that went beyond the parish, such as ideas, fairs, and innovation meetings. An annual festival quickly took shape, and building on past achievements, everyone together was eager to experience new opportunities and bring about meaningful change in Santa Clara. The success of the parish was based on the resilience and love that infected everyone. The journey would never have an end. It would be a continuous cycle of learning, love, and action, where each step taken together would transform the community into something even more beautiful and stronger. Each resident became a guardian of change, fueling the flame of solidarity with each gesture, knowing that no matter how many challenges still arose, unity would always prevail over any obstacle. The true strength of a community lies in unity, solidarity, and mutual support. Together, we can overcome challenges and transform our lives and those of our neighbors into a better place. Share in the comments which story you'd like to hear next. Is there a specific theme or experience that inspires you and that you would like to see explored? How have solidarity and friendship impacted your life or community? What actions do you believe can make a difference in the world around you? If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next videos full of inspiration and hope. Until next time,